Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tomohito Shinoda. I'm a professor at the International University of Japan, or IUJ. I'm very happy to see you participating in our international symposium on digital garden cities and green transformation. How are rural communities driving Japan forward? This international symposium is hosted by International University of Japan and the Cabinet Office. First, I'd like to ask International University of Japan President Hiroyuki Itami. Please, President Itami.
Good afternoon. We are very, very honored to host this international symposium on digital garden city and green transformation, co-hosted by IUJ and Cabinet Office of Japanese government. Actually, this is a second in series of this kind of co-hosting the international symposium with our Cabinet Office. The first one was on Sado Island in Niigata, up in the sea, and where Sado Island was going to apply for World Heritage last year. Cabinet Office and we decided to have an international symposium. Actually, at that time, many of our students, IUJ students, who are from many from more than 50 countries, went to Sado Island. And we had the discussion in this room. For this digital garden city, of course, our students live in a very rural area. Actually, the closest convenience store from our campus is about 40 minutes walk. This is one of the rare locations in Japan where you don't have that much convenience store close by. And one of the things that I regret actually is, as you can see from the logo, this is a symposium on how rural communities can drive forward Japan's digital transformation and green transformation. Actually, this is a rural area where you can see much of snow, like 1 meter high and 50 centimeter high snow at this time of the year. Unfortunately, we have much less snow this year. So you cannot see the beautiful snow scenery, but instead you have sunshine today. Very rare occasion for Niigata. So we are welcoming you, all of you, with this sunshine, and I hope with such wonderful panelists with us today, we will have a very, very lively discussion on how digital garden city or garden city digital transformation can go forward, and also green transformation can go forward in Japan. That kind of contribution is something that IUJ has been striving for. Not particularly in the technological area of digital transformation, but for the better countryside and better nationwide education and international communities. So I welcome you, all of you, to this symposium. Thank you very much.
Now we have a video messages from 3 distinguished guests. First, Mr. Hideo Hanazumi, Governor of Niigata Prefecture. Second, Shigeo Hayashi, Mayor of Minami Uonoma City. Third, Noriyuki Shikata, Cabinet Secretary for Public Relations. Please start video message.
新潟県知事の花角です。本日は国際大学の国際シンポジウムデジタルガーデンシティーズ&グリーントランスフォーメーションの開催にあたり、新潟県を代表いたしまして一言ご挨拶を申し上げます。本日多くの関係者の皆様のご参加を得てシンポジウムが盛大に開催されますことに心からお祝いを申し上げますとともに、開催にあたりご尽力されました国際大学、政府内閣官房の皆様に深く敬意を表します。そして本日のパネリストの皆様には、国際的専門的見地から我が国の地方の活性化につながる貴重なご意見やご提言をお聞かせいただけるものと期待をしております。新潟県では昨年4月に県の総合計画を改定し、デジタル改革の推進と脱炭素社会の実現という新たな重要課題に対する基本的な考え方や政策展開の基本方向を県民にお示したところです。新潟県を含め多くの地方が人口減少やそれに起因する少子高齢化や活力・競争力の低下に直面する中、デジタル技術やデータを最大限活用し、地理的環境に左右されない質の高いサービスを受けられる環境を作ることで地域の課題を解決したいと考えております。例えば本県は医師少数県であることに加え、医療資源の少ない離島や多くの中山間地域が存在し、通院が困難かつ在宅医療も難しい地域も多いことから、 ICT の活用により県内のどこにいても適切な医療を受けられる環境整備に取り組むこととしています。教育では人口減少により、特に小規模な高等学校では各科目の専門の教諭を置くことが難しいのですが、こうした課題もオンラインを使うことで解決できると思っています。また脱炭素社会の実現に向けては、新潟県北部地域での洋上風力発電などの再生可能エネルギーの導入を促進するとともに、 CO2 の回収・有効利用などによる産業やエネルギーの脱炭素化やカーボンリサイクル技術の活用による新たな産業の創出など、環境と経済の好循環を目指してまいります。結びになりますが、本シンポジウムが実り多い有意義なものとなりますことを心より記念するとともに、ご参加の皆様方のご発展とご健勝を記念し、私のご挨拶といたします。
皆様こんにちは。南魚沼市長の林茂雄です。本日国際大学にて国際シンポジウムが開催されますことを心からお祝いを申し上げます。国際大学のあるこの南魚沼市は、新潟県の南に位置し、四季の彩りに富んだ山紫水明のまさに日本の箱庭のような美しい町であります。冬は市内一面が雪で覆われる世界有数の豪雪地帯でもあります。厳しい冬が終わった後には春の雪解けがもたらす雪解け水で日本のブランド米南魚沼産コシヒカリを育んでいます。雪は本当に厳しい面も持っていますが、当市の基幹産業である農業や冬季観光は雪なくしては語ることができません。当市ではこの雪を冷熱源として活用する事業に取り組んでいます。本日のテーマの一つでもあるグリーントランスフォーメーション、これに通じる自然エネルギーを用いた脱炭素社会への貢献にまさにつながる、そういう力を持った地域と考えています。南魚沼はさまざまに雪の魅力を発信していますが、すでに産業化は始まっていまして、現在市内には雪を貯蔵や熟成に利用する雪室、これは大変古来から続いてきた技術を使っています。雪室が12カ所ですでに稼働しておりまして、雪の産業化により持続可能なまちづくりを推進しているところであります。また IT 関連企業を集積する市内に設置をした産業拠点グローバル IT パーク南魚沼は国際大学の皆様のご協力があってまさに実現した事業となっています。国際大学がこの地域の発展の一翼を担っていただいておりますことに深く感謝を申し上げるところであります。また1月下旬からは当市の事業創発拠点、これは JR 六日町駅に設置をしています結び場におきまして、国際大学の教授陣の皆さんから月1回の全10回の連続講座を開催していただくことが決まっています。本当に嬉しく思っていますし、これがずっと続いてほしいと思っています。南魚沼へのご貢献に対し大変感謝をしているところであります。これからも素晴らしいパートナーとしてこの地にあり続けていただき、そして私どもと共に進んでいただきたいと願っている次第です。結びとなりますが、本日ご参加をされております皆様のご健勝と、そして国際大学のますますの発展をご記念いたしまして、私からの挨拶とメッセージにさせていただきます。本日は誠におめでとうございます。
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Noriyuki Shikata, Cabinet Secretary for Public Affairs at the Prime Minister's Office of Japan. It is my great pleasure to support the International Symposium on Digital Garden Cities and Green Transformation. How are rural communities driving Japan forward? I'd especially like to thank President Hiroyuki Itami and Professor Tomohito Shinoda of International University of Japan for their generous support for hosting this international symposium. The Japanese government has positioned digital transformation, DX, and green transformation, GX, as one of the main pillars of its economic policy called the new form of capitalism. One important initiative for achieving this objective is the vision for a digital garden cities nation. This program will accelerate efforts by public and private entities to make the best use of digital technology to build a society where anyone can live conveniently and comfortably anywhere in Japan. There is a special reason for holding this event in Niigata. In Niigata Prefecture, initiatives that leverage digital technology are in fact underway in various places, including the Nagaoka work model in Nagaoka City, a new way of working completely remotely using ICT technology. Making DX and GX initiatives sustainable will not be easy. There are numerous challenges, such as securing funding and human resources. Resolving these issues will require collaboration not only between the public and private sectors in Japan, but also with overseas subnational governments, businesses, and universities, which are implementing similar initiatives. We wish to spread the fruits of DX and GX widely across Japan and beyond. Our hope is that successful regional good practices in Japan can be scaled up or serve as models for other regions facing similar challenges both in Japan and overseas. I'm encouraged to see insightful experts in a range of relevant fields from Japan and abroad participating in this symposium. By sharing their knowledge, expertise, and deepening discussion of these crucial issues, they will, I hope, provide valuable hints for promoting DX and GX, as well as Digital Garden City across Japan and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I'd like to start the panel discussion on the digital garden cities and green transformation. And we have invited the 5 distinguished guests for this panel discussion. Before I introduce each panelist, I'd like to introduce the outline. First, we have a 5 to 7 minutes presentation from each panelist, and then the free discussion period is going to follow. And question and answer period is going to be available for those participants on the floor, as well as the online participants. The online participants, please click the link which says, please post question under the YouTube screen. And also, there are some presentation materials are available for download. So please use it as an aid for the presentation. Now I'd like to introduce each panelist. Next to me is Dr. Ayako Kameda, General Manager of Shell Energy Japan. She's also President of Nagaoka Power Generation Limited. And next to her is Mr. Walter Sim. He is a Japan correspondent of the Straits Times from Singapore. The third panelist is Mihoko Sakurai, Senior Research Fellow and Associate Professor at the Center of Global Communication of IUJ. And fourth is Mr. Michihiko Kurokawa. He's a partner at the McKinsey & Company, and he is a leader of McKinsey Digital and McKinsey Technology in Japan. And participating from the distance is my friend, Mr. Yasumasa Yamamoto. He's a startup investor in Silicon Valley, and he's also served as a specially appointed associate professor at the Kyoto University Graduate School. Now I'd like to ask Dr. Kameda for her presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shinoda, and thank you so much for International University, all the students that are here today, as well as the Cabinet's office for organizing this wonderful event. I'm very honored to be part of this esteemed colleagues and panelists today. I'd like to give a presentation about how Shell is powering progress by innovations in Japan in the context of GX and DX. Before I begin, I need to share this with you. Our lawyer says that you should not make your investment choices based on my speech today. Now, Shell's Powering Progress strategy has 4 pillars. Well, the first pillar is about generating shareholder value, and that's about ensuring that we have the financial strength to transform our company with the society that is now trying to transition into cleaner energy system. The second pillar is about net zero emissions. So we are here to help accelerate the net zero emissions. Shell has a target to be net zero by 2050. We have an earlier target of reducing our own scope 1 and 2 emissions by 50% by 2030. The third pillar is about powering lives, and that's about powering lives and livelihoods. And that's very important to us, and also in promoting an inclusive society. The last pillar is about respecting nature. So it's to promote reducing of waste, to help nature and improve the diversity of biodiversity. And as part of our strategy, we have started a power business here in Japan called Shell Energy Japan, which is where I'm the general manager of. And our mission is to become the trusted partner for Japan for energy transition and to be the supplier of secure and stable power. And cleaner power. And you may not know that Shell is expanding our cleaner energy business here in Japan. And this is a picture of Hystra. This is subsidized by Japanese government. And it was a demonstration project. It was the world's first demonstration of transporting liquid hydrogen between Australia and Japan. And this is a picture of CISO Frontier. And Shell was part of this operation. So we leveraged our commodity shipping safety operation experience. And we're very proud to be part of the maiden voyage that started in December of 2021 and successfully completed in February of 2022. Now, the Japanese government has set about what's called decarbonization leading area, or that's Tanso Senko Chiki. Those are about 100 communities that they will be looking to lead Japan in creating a decarbonization journey. And each of these communities are trying to meet Japan's decarbonization targets. And they have been selected, or some of them have been selected. And this is a city of Sado that was selected in the first round of DLA. And Shell has been trying to see how we can help, be part of the community that helps these DLA regions. When we engage with the local stakeholders, we sense that there is such a strong will and desire, an authentic desire to be part of the decarbonization journey and help themselves revitalize the regions. So there is a strong desire for decarbonization, for GX in the communities. And what they come to us and say is that, can you help us with technology? Can you help us with the skill and knowledge in power? Because how can we make this dream come true of having solar, the battery, e-mobility, all of these things we cannot do by ourselves. So there is an amazing amount of support and help that is descending upon these DLAs, and that consists of governmental, academic, private sectors. We're all trying to be part of the solution to help the DLAs. And as part of that solution, we also partner with our companies and technologies that Shell has in other parts of the world. And in Europe and the United States, North America in particular, they have been on this the power journey on the decarbonization for a long time, and they have a lot of DX solution. One of the companies that we partner with is InnoWatt. It is a leading AI company that works with energy data. And what they do is they look at how the demand and supply is varying, and then trying to efficiently bring renewables to the customers. And we are now in partnership with InnoWatt in Japan, as well as with West Holdings. And we have started a self-wheeling demonstration where we take West Holdings solar assets, wheel it to one of their offices, and ensure that between the supply and demand, that the renewables are being consumed efficiently. And that helps with affordability of the power in the long run. Now, in order for us to make renewables stick, we also need to work on the intermittency of the renewables. So naturally, solar and wind are going to be dependent on weather. So with that, we look to acquiring a natural gas power plant, and this is a natural gas power plant manager on the right in Nagaoka. We acquired it last September. And what it does, that it has efficient gas engines that go from 0 to 100 in about 8 minutes. So when you have the intermittency of the renewables, it is a very good partner to complement and supplement that variability. It also brings natural gas locally. So the natural gas that we use at this power plant is sourced only 5 kilometers away in the Nagaoka city. And it is going to be used, hopefully, as a Chisan-Chisho, locally produced, locally consumed model. So we will use the power from this power plants. We like to put renewables for local customers, and then we like to combine it together for this locally produced, locally consumed model for renewables for the future. And then, when we were talking to the community, we've asked people who actually know about Niigata and Nagaoka area. We said, who are these people? What do they care about? And everybody says, well, we have lots of rice and lots of sake. So you see the sake on the left. And you may not have been aware of, but in the process of rice farming, we actually produce methane in the soil. So if you have sustainable practices, you can reduce the methane from these agricultural practices. And Shell has experience globally on different carbon credit schemes that includes agriculture. So we are now trying to engage with different rice farmers and sake makers to see how we could help. And one of the sake makers is called Yoshinogawa. And those of you in Japan probably knows about that brand. They have been around for 470 years. For those students that know Japanese history, that's Muromachi Jidai. That's before the Edo period. It's amazing. And this is a bottle of sustainable sake that they are producing. They don't waste anything. They recycle everything in the process, even the bottle and the label. And they've been asking us, how can we decarbonize even more? How can we become even more sustainable? And I was so impressed. I was like, oh my gosh, you've been around for 470 years. You're a powerhouse. You're the tradition. And you want to do so much more. What drives you? What is your inspiration? And the CEO of Yoshinogawa, Minamasa-san, says something to me that really struck me like a lightning. And he said, you know what? Tradition is a series of reinvention. And it literally gave me goosebumps. And I thought, this is it. They have been around for 470 years and thrived because they continuously reinvented themselves, and it became part of their tradition. For GX and DX, for them both to stick, we can't make it a flavor of the month or the year. We have to have it be part of our tradition. And that cultural mindset is what is going to make this all stick and become successful. So this is, in summary, some of the realizations and the aha learnings that I had in this journey, is that decarbonization, GX, needs to come hand in hand with revitalization of the regions in Japan. We have to also aim for locally produced, locally consumed models wherever we can. And I think we need to cultivate the partners, the local partners and allies that really understands that tradition is a series of innovation and reinvention. And only then can we make GX and DX both stick. Shell has been around for Japan for 120 more years. It is nothing compared to 470, but we would like to be around another 120 years and to contribute through GX and DX. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kameda, for interesting presentation on the local attempt for the green transformation. Before moving to the next panelist, I'd like to ask you a question. Often, green transformation is considered that costly in the short term at least. How would you persuade the local community or local company to move on to that green transformation?
Yes, I think that is a very good point, and that's why I think you need to multiply GX with DX, because there are opportunities where you can actually save cost, make it more efficient and affordable. One of the surprise findings that by InnoWatts, as an example, in the US, in one summer, by using DX in the residential power sector, they were able to save $75 per household in just one short summer. And if you think about that, it's only $75, you know? But imagine if you're a utility company or a power retailer that has 10,000 customers, 100,000 customers, 1 million customers, that times 75. You know, so that I think it needs to be a realization, a clear cost benefit of DX that could help in pair with GX.
Thank you very much. So now I'd like to ask Mr. Walter Sim for his presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shinoda. It's a pleasure to be here. And I would like to give my gratitude to the Cabinet Office as well for inviting me for this very precious opportunity. Well, I was one of the Straits Times of Singapore, and as part of my work, I've traveled extensively across Japan. And one thing that struck me is how Japan has shifted, particularly, especially over the last few years. Well, Kishida's and we have ministers having measures towards digital transformation, and these two are really the key to sustainable and inclusive growth, especially in rural communities in Japan. I was struck by what Dr. Kameda said earlier about this is really pushed to innovative technology. Mr. Kishida's Digital Garden City vision, we are starting to see it reap results throughout Japan. Cities like Aizu Wakamatsu City in Fukushima. there are cities like Aizu Wakamatsu City in Fukushima where farmers are using drones to water their paddy fields, to spray fertilizers on their crops. There's a Buddhist altar manufacturer, Altarmeister, which has more than 100 years of history, and it's starting to use 3D printers to, to maintain a certain level of standard, especially since they are facing a manpower crunch. Over in Shikoku, in Tokushima, there are towns like Kamiyama-cho, which was once said to be disappearing, but it has installed a very fast fiber optic network, and it's pursuing a policy of so-called creative depopulation. So what it intends to do is to attract companies to set up satellite offices there, so as to spark a positive virtuous cycle where people can come in, would move into the community, and that would lead to positive growth in future. Also in Hakuba town in Nagano, there are ongoing trials with Singapore startup companies, including Swap Mobility. That's a mobility as a service provider. So especially in rural communities where, it does not make much business sense to run regular bus services, and even if there are regular bus services, you see the frequency of the buses being very sporadic. Mobility as a service is a solution. It's something like, your Uber, where you could just hire a public transport, hire a public bus, it comes to you and brings you to the next place. Such mobility as a service trial is also ongoing in Aizu Wakamatsu City that I cited earlier. Also in Nagano, in Hakuba, a local brewery is working with a Singapore startup, Crust, where it turns waste bread, unused, uneaten bread into craft beer. So I think these are examples that show that, how Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's Digital Garden City vision is starting to catch on across rural communities across Japan. And of course, there are also stellar examples in green transition in Fukushima. There's the Fukushima Innovation Coast Framework. I'm not sure if you guys know, but it's really the home to one of the world's largest hydrogen research and energy production facilities. Other regions like Hokkaido is tapping Japan's natural wind, and there are a lot of offshore wind farms being developed there. There are reports recently in Aomori, which is trying to turn snowmelt into energy. Oita, which is famous for its hot springs, is also pursuing this drive to turn its geothermal energy into renewable energy. Of course, there are company-led initiatives, no less Shell, which is doing marvelous work in Sado. Panasonic has launched its sustainable towns in Fujisawa and Kanagawa, as well as in Osaka, in Suita City. There's Toyota, which is famous for its woven city in Susuno and Shizuoka as well. And of course, at the national level, Japan is seeing a major digital shift. There's the launch of the digital agency in 2021, and I think with COVID, it has led to a clear growth in cashless payment options. Digital Minister Taro Kono has declared a war against fax machines, floppy disk, and what have you. I think the mandatory coding education that has been in place in elementary schools in 2020 is also instrumental in ensuring that a next generation of youth grow up to be more technological minded. There's also this ongoing push to roll out My Number individual identification system so as to integrate services. And this leads me to my next point, because it kind of reminds me to a program, an initiative that has been ongoing in Singapore in recent years, especially with Singapore Smart Nation initiative. Singapore has this thing called the SingPass, which is short for Singapore Personal Access. It's kind of a digital identification card. So basically, with my smartphone, I'm able to use it as an ID. It's my driving license. I can use it to log on to over 2,000 government and private sector services using two-factor authentication. So for instance, if I go to a website for, say, my insurance provider, I want to log in, I can just use the app, generate a QR code, scan the QR code, and be able to log in without the need for any passwords. There's also this Go Business portal, which ensures that new businesses can be registered in as early as 20 minutes, as little as 20 minutes, and approved within 5 working days. So as you can see, these are some examples where digital society has permeated in all aspects of life. So for example, when I went back to Singapore last year for the first time after 3 years due to COVID, I found out, to my surprise, that I could easily transfer money from, when I shared a meal with my friends, I could easily transfer money to their bank accounts by using merely their phone numbers. I could easily book a taxi or car using the Singapore-based mega app Grab, which which grew so big that it even bought over Uber stakes in Southeast Asia. And of course, Singapore is small and Singapore is resource poor, but it has made a net carbon zero pledge by 2050. And of course, it's working with Japan to develop technologies such as hydrogen as well as CCUS or carbon capture, utilization and storage. ASEAN, of course, is also catching up. There's an ASEAN Digital Transformation Agenda in 2021 that aims to deepen digital integration and connectivity in what is potentially the world's 5th largest economy. There are 670 million people, all upwardly mobile, all going to be very more and more fluent in coming decades. And so there's a lot of potential in ASEAN, and I think e-commerce will play a big role in accelerating that. There's an e-commerce agreement, a region-wide e-commerce agreement that is promoting paperless transactions, interoperable payment systems. We see countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Singapore pushing forward to link their real-time payment systems as well. So these are clear initiatives of ASEAN recognizing the need to go big on digital, in tapping big data, and launching digital roadmaps and cloud services so as to close the digital skills gap as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have a question. You are Singaporean, and how do you see that the weakness and strengths of Japanese community to move forward on the digital transformation and green transformation?
Well, where do I start? Weaknesses and strengths. Well, I think one clear strength is that there is very clear acknowledgement in Japan of the need to move forward on DX and GX. So that's a very good starting point. In terms of weaknesses, I think, well, Japan, probably one thing that's holding Japan back as compared to Singapore is that Japan is big, so there are multiple levels of governments. Unlike Singapore, which is a very flat structure, it's a small country. So in Japan, there is, of course, the national level, there's the prefecture level, and then there's the city, town, or if you're in Tokyo, the ward level as well. So I think the big challenge lies in integrating all these services, especially if people are being encouraged to be mobile, to move from one place to another. So interestingly, I have a friend who moved out of Tokyo and is now living in Ibaraki Prefecture. He had to renew his passport because he's going overseas, but just to renew his passport, because he needs some documentation from the Shibuya ward office, he had to make a special trip to Tokyo just to get that document so as to renew his passport. So what I think it's a big challenge, but I think for Japan to be truly a digital nation, I think systems have to be integrated, no matter across different levels of government, and I think that's going to be one big challenge going forward.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to move on to the next presenter, Dr. Mihoko Sakurai. Please.
Thank you for having me today. My name is Mihoko Sakurai. My academic background is management of information systems, and I'm doing research on how an organization or individuals or local communities should use digital technologies in their everyday lives. Today, I will introduce several cases from other countries, which I believe relate to the Digital Garden City initiatives. The first case is Vejle from Denmark. Its population is around 100,000. And there is an organization called BFIN, which belongs to the City Council, the Department of Learning and Education in Children and Youth Administration. They belong to the City Council, but they are positioned as a third party, aiming to create a city development project and attract fundings from the European Union. This figure shows who they are with several keywords in Danish though. So they are diversity, digital natives, cultural understanding, install action, fundraising, drones, speech, and robots. Their primary focus is utilizing digital technologies and materials for teaching Danish in the co-creation process of our city development. They are very good at leading living lab projects. I used to work people from BFIN, and what was very impressive to me was that they always brought thin toys on their business trips and shot a short video on the land they visited. That video was used for children's education. They focus on using digital technologies for educational purposes, and they have good knowledge on that, but they also use non-digital tools such as teen toys to attract children's interest. The second case is Bristol from UK. Its population is around 400,000, having 14 neighborhoods in their city. The East Bristol Livable Neighborhood Project launched last year. This project aims to make local communities quieter, healthier, and safer, and improve the air quality of the city. They utilized a website as an interactive communication tool to their citizens. An interactive map in the slide collected citizens' comments. Online surveys were carried out through this page and collected more than 1,000 responses. The process of this pilot project is follows: code discover, including analyze, share results, co-develop, outline business case submission, co-design, and experimental scheme. At this moment, currently, they are in the co-develop phase. The third case is from Glasgow, UK. Its population is around 600,000, used an OpenStreetMap, which is a digital map enabling everyone to participate in its creation process. The city used an OpenStreetMap in order to share local problems with citizens. Not only a digital map, but an analog map, which I show in the slide, was employed. Around 300 citizens participated in creating both digital and analog maps. Interestingly, various communities have emerged afterwards based on citizens' interest, such as gardening community, a community which mapping green space in the city. The last case is Kristiansand, Norway. Its population is around 80,000. I used to live and work in this city and visited last October. The latest discussion they are having was about digital outsiders. It says 1/10 of the population is digitally vulnerable. It's quite a low percentage comparing to Japan though. The country itself has been promoting digital first policy, but they realized there should be different degrees of digital first. Not everyone allows themselves to be digitized. In cooperation with the Norwegian Labor and Welfare Administration, called NAV, it's the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare in Japan. They started discussing which public services should be provided by digital and which shouldn't. Motivation behind was target audience of the services, in this case, medical services, was not using digital technologies. Through my stay in Kristiansand, I've heard very interesting discussions about different Scandinavian policies for digital society. Mandatory digital, digital by default and digital by choice. Norway takes digital by default for policy, means they prepare alternative solutions. I found significant implications for Japan. Each Japanese rural area should have their own digital policies and make such directions clear. I believe we are beginning to understand that a digital policy should not be technology oriented, but it should be problem oriented. But I'm afraid if there is enough understanding of how people, normal citizens in this case, use digital technologies, how they perceive such technologies, and whether they want to use it or not. That's all from my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sakurai. The last part was very, very interesting. Mandatory digital or digital by default or digital by choice. Is it because of the constraint that the local communities have, because that's the social, financial, and human resources? Or if that's the problem, how the local community, like Minami Onna City, where we are, can overcome such constraints?
Yeah, as I mentioned, digital policies should have should start with understanding how people live in their everyday lives. This point is often overlooked, I'm afraid. We tend to think that we need to acquire some kind of special capabilities, such as data science and AI and so on. But that should come with the second. So the first, we need to have a solid understanding of who we are and who we want to become. In my opinion, technology itself is getting much easier to be employed. So we need to define how to use that technology. And yeah, regarding, I found one problem in the implementation phase. It requires money. This is what all of us, government, national governments, local governments, industries, and universities as academia should think about. In my opinion, a profitable business model is needed for a company to get into the smart city initiative. But if the number of service users or consumers is limited, that business model isn't easy to be sustained. According to my research about smart city, a sustainable business model can be created if there is around 3,000 users. So I believe it does not sound unrealistic for rural areas.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask Mr. Kurokawa for his presentation.
So thank you for the occasion. This is a really honor to be here and talking about DX and GX. And it was a 2 hours train ride coming from Tokyo to here. And there is a so great snow scenery, and I really refreshed with it, but I feel a little bit cold. And so I can't wait drinking the sake, good sake today. But I should finish my job first. And I will introduce myself. My name is Michihiko Kurokawa. I'm leading the digital in Japan. And I'm doing the digital for 26 years in Japan from the Accenture and also McKinsey. And currently, I'm doing the digital transformation project, 3 or 4 projects at the same time for 2 years or 3 years to make the real things happen in Japan. So McKinsey has this kind of concept that we are really committing the growth with the sustainability and also inclusion. So these 3 links is quite important if we come together, if we can really grow and sustain ourselves and all the world happiness as well. So last year, we had global surveys with the 1,000 business leaders. And we summarized this report. And as you see here, 84% of the CEOs are thinking about innovation is needed for the growth. And also, at the same time, they are feeling 80% of them is feeling the current business model is at risk. This is quite risky part. So they need to invent themselves. However, the CEO is not satisfied with the change. Only 6% is satisfied, meaning that nothing happened yet. So we need to act now. So how do we act towards the trends? So we see the difficulties in these years, like supply chain shortage, or inflation spike, or talent shortage, or consumer behavior change. So these four is a quite big change in the market. But we think this can be the opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity for the transform ourselves. Like if we do the digital supply chain, we can match with the demand and supply and no waste. And also if we implement AI-driven decision making, we can 10 times faster the decision making. So by doing this, also we can do the retention of the employees. So if we include everyone into the society, we can retain them into the company, and they will performing well with great motivation. And also digital AI drives 1.6 times value. So we know this, so we want to act now. So we had great success cases in global, and we made the holistic growth blueprint. So this is a kind of the recipe how to grow again. So first one is the set an aspirational mindset and culture. This is the first starting point that the CEO and also the executives should have, and talk with the colleagues in the company to have the collaboration together. The second one is the decide the pathways. So there are 3 ways. One thing is the core, expanding the core, meaning the solidify the core business, like differentiate themselves by knowing the customer needs, and also sustain the core business and make the profitability there. And the right-hand side is more about the new business. So making the new product or services. So between these two, there is one thing adjacencies, which is next to the core. You can expand yourself, like moving into the other geographies to sell the product or services to the other countries. Or you can do the other segments in your market as well. And the last one is the excellence with execution. So we need to do the reallocation of the people and also define the operating model. Then also we should do the ecosystem building with the other other companies, or doing the M&A or alliances. And the last one is the redefine the functional capabilities, like from R&D to the sales and also operation and corporate. We need to reimagine these. So to make it more easier, I put the 3 bucket. The aspiration point is, I think it's a kind of the Sampo Yoshi. This is a traditional Japanese mindset, triple win. And active pathways, we call it like Ryokiki no Keiei, lead and disrupt. There's a famous book here. We can do the both things. If so, then we can grow again. And the last one will be the DX, to apply the digital technology for the operation and execution. So let's think about what happened in the COVID era. You know, these 2 companies, Moderna and Pfizer, did a great job to come up with the vaccine very quickly. Why can they make it quickly? This is the answer. So Moderna is originally the IT company. So they are the kind of the IT native. They are building the code and also making the medicine very quickly. And Pfizer, on the other hand, this is the quite big, large company, incumbent companies, very successful in the DX. That's why they could come up with the very quick development. And I want to emphasize on the, for example, the Moderna case, the data scientists and also they are doing the coding software. This is a kind of the major work for the Moderna. So it's a kind of IT company. They made a 23 times top line growth by the vaccine. Really great. And also Pfizer, 2 times top line growth because they could come up with the, they invested a lot on the digital side to learn the new things and also do the alliance with the one company, BioNTech. This is an mRNA technology company. So that's why they could come up with the very quick development. So how can we apply this to the Japan? So this is my analysis. So Sampo Yoshi, triple win. Japan is really good already. We have the mindset, this kind of mindset and culture already. However, the next one, core business and also new businesses, this is quite slow in terms of the changing ourselves. And also DX, very slow. Because I put some challenges about the cultures or mindset or lack of the skills or resistance from the change. But some companies are successful, like these companies I'm showing. But actually, today, if the theme is the Garden City, we need a local and small companies successful cases. So I searched who will be that. So these 3, I will explain more in detail. So actually, this is inspired by the drama I saw in the last year, The First Penguin, maybe someone knows. And I cannot watch without the tears of this drama every week. Actually, the Sendan Maru is the kind of the direct-to-consumer model, like a Fisher is selling to the wholesaler. This is the traditional value chain. However, this woman, CEO, is doing the direct selling to the restaurants, fisherman to the restaurant. If so, the price became 10 times higher for the fisherman. So fisherman's profit increased a lot. This kind of things is a great cases, I think. And also they used the e-commerce or line with the fishermen. They are really don't use the smartphone at all, but they started to use the line. And also another case is Jinya and Eviya. These 2 are kind of similar. So Jinya is making the hotel reservation systems by themselves and sold it to the 5,000 hotels. That's why they become a 2.7 times higher sales within 9 years. And also, Eviya is also same thing. It's a restaurant, and they invented the paper to the Excel and the Excel to the AI. That kind of the transition they made. Because of that, they could make 5 times higher sales. So to becoming a fast penguin and do the challenge will bring the great result in the performance. That is what I want to emphasize on. So if we apply this to the large cap corporates, so typically we can get this kind of the result. Top line growth, 10 to 20%, and cost reduction, 5 to 10%, and de-risking the business, like employee will stay and attrition rate will lower or something like that. And also, after all, the valuation of the company will uplift 10 to 20%. So this, and also capital cost will be reduced. This brings and giving the management for the room for the new innovations. That is very good thing. So we need to do these and do the sustainable growth. So lastly, we have the supporting team, like 3 teams are coming together. Like RTS is more about the corporate transformation team, and the market sustainability is the green GX team and the DX team. We come together currently and helping the corporate to change their existing business. So thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kurokawa. It was a very interesting presentation. I have a question. First, you showed us that opinion surveys of the global corporate leaders. Do you see the difference between global leaders and Japanese leaders?
Oh, yeah, a little bit different. But if I talk with the CEOs, they also have such kind of mindset, like growth is the next important things. They need to change the company, but they at the same time they talk about the challenges in the organization. There's many resistance for the change, and they need to overcome. And also, they want a new generation. They want to pass the management to the new generation, but the new generation is quite busy on the core business, so they don't have time. Such kind of things we need to solve in the company.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask Mr. Yasumasa Yamamoto for his presentation. Please.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to talk about digital transformation and green transformation, especially in rural areas. And from the startup investment viewpoint, so there are so many projects running right now, but I think most of them is running on the government subsidy. So I'd like to focusing on the sustainable growth. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I think this is kind of self-driving bus or self-driving car running around the rural areas right now, which looks very kind of great in pictures or in video or for PR. That's great. But is this project sustainable or not? I think this is a kind of key question, especially for the investment side. So this is a great project. Of course, that could be kind of great enabler for the rural areas, especially for mass mobility as a service. That's great. But if the subsidy is deducted, what will happen? We don't know. So if this area's data is essential, or essence or crucial for the progress of this project or developing software, I think this is kind of a little bit sustainable. But if it's not, I think this could be just a showcase. So we need to think about the kind of sustainability for this kind of innovation. Next slide, please. So I think think about some viewpoint, something like regulation or geopolitical advantage for sustainable growth. So one example is this TSMC and Sony collaboration, new semiconductor factory in Kumamoto. So because of the geopolitical tension and supply chain and management, now the needs for the semiconductor is very high. And Kumamoto is kind of a hot place for that topic. Apple CEO Tim Cook just visited this place, and they focusing on more resilient supply chain. Next slide, please. And actually, this story is very similar to the Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley, Stanford, UC Berkeley, this university are there, and one guy, a Professor Thurman, he invented a device for World War II and make a fortune. And he invested into his student. That was Hewlett Packard. And that kind of positive cycle happened. Yahoo or Google, and make a fortune. And they just provide not only for the semiconductor, but also for software. So university is also the key. Next slide, please. So let's say for self-driving car, Honda and GM Cruise is collaborating, and maybe this kind of scene would be enabled maybe in the 2 or 3 years. We don't know, but we need to focus on the question if this is sustainable or not. Next slide, please. So, or something like this. So the self-driving drone spraying the medicine for the agriculture, the smart agriculture, that could be cut cost maybe. But I think the key is select the correct partner or right partner, which is kind of a pioneer in this technology. So next, please. So rural area could be R&D destination as well. So Notion, this is kind of software for the note taking. They made a kind of R&D tour in Kyoto or Gashuku, and that was inspiring for the founder. And they made a large change for the software, and now its variation is more than 1 billion kind of unicorn. So I think in Japan, maybe not so many people are thinking about rural areas as an R&D destination, but maybe for global, that could be great resource. So next slide, please. With this kind of global community, now the AI, such as generation AI, ChatGPT, could be great interface tool. So you don't have to be expert in English or hospitality. Maybe this kind of communication tool could be great tool in the future. Next, please. And also for the green transformation, there is one startup called PowerX. The concept is very simple. They make a huge battery and they put the batteries on the ship and just let them go to the wind power on the ocean and just send them and back. It's kind of transporting the energy, and that will just kind of unleash the potential power of the wind power on the ocean. Next slide, please. And other topics, I just heard from the other panelists that saying that they need more capital and knowledge, but there's a new trend for this issue. So such as private equity fund for digital transformation. So most of the companies, most of the corporations doesn't have a capital or knowledge, especially for digital or energy transformation. And they invest into these companies and also sending the professionals to that area. And they make a grand design for the project and make it happen. So I think this kind of collaboration could be a key for rural areas. So I think the important part is that everything shouldn't be concluded in that region, that they can leverage outside the knowledge or capital or professional into that area. Next slide, please. Also, to leverage the resource outside, maybe just engaging with outside community is key, especially with digital tools such as Instagram and social network, or let's say Instagram or TikTok is fine. With that, not only Japan but also a global community we can engage with. So even though, okay, let's say with COVID-19 there's the restriction of the traveling, but still we can appeal our kind of attractiveness of the area through digital, and that will create some fun community with the global area. So this kind of project or this kind of marketing is kind of lacking right now. So next slide, please. So currently I talk with Toyama Prefecture, and they are focusing more on the sustainable project, such as the AI chatbot, or I think this is more like user interface program. So if digital is really difficult to use, how about improving the user interface? That could solve the most of the problem. And let's say smart agriculture, like we said. And next slide, please. The fan community in Japanese, it says kankei jinko. So let's say somebody's mother or somebody's father is coming from that area. That kind of story is good enough to corroborate or volunteering. And they actually want to contribute back to that area actually. So to make that happen, the government at that area or the community of that area should reach out to that person. So it's not like a flashy or one-time project, but it just needs more sustainable effort for reaching out to that community. And also the educating the people at the area is really important. Next slide, please. For that, Toyama Prefecture setting up the DX, Digital Transformation Education Center, which is just a new building, but I think showing that kind of capacity for the residents is also important. And that's the end of the slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yamamoto. I've known him many years, but this is the first time for me to see his serious mode.
Right.
I have a question. You are a startup investor in Silicon Valley. What kind of project in DX or GX which would take place? What would you look for advantage for investors?
You mean the DX?
When you are
GX,
investing some DX or GX project in Japan, how would you evaluate? What would be the point you focus on?
Thank you. So I invest in US and Japan startups both, but I think the key point is whether the concept is simple or not. So if that's a cutting edge technology, that's great, but it's really difficult to penetrate the market. So the concept should be really simple and a great team. So somebody really passionate about the project. Also has a great knowledge or professional experience. So that's kind of quality I look for.
So human factor is very important.
Very important, yeah.
Okay.
Especially for at the early stage.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to remind that online participants, your question is welcome, and please click on that please post questions. And please identify which panelists you want to ask questions to. Okay, now before moving to the question and answer period, we'd like to have a free discussion, and I'd like to ask all the panelists the same question. Prime Minister Kishida having a digital Guardian City initiative and now green transformation. If you were advisor to the Prime Minister, what would you recommend? What is your recommendation? Or what do you criticize about the current status of their initiative? Can I ask Dr. Kameda first?
Oh my goodness. I was hoping you wouldn't ask me first.
Do you want to do that?
No, I think my panelists here today are much more qualified to answer that than myself.
We can start with Mr. Yamamoto. If you are the advisor to the Prime Minister, that his initiative of the Digital Guardian City or green transformation, do you have any criticism about the plan, or do you have any recommendations to him? How to
yes, I think we need to focus on some areas, especially for the technology that is essential on rural areas. So some projects, let's say self-driving project, could be done in metro area as well. So I think there are so many projects running right now, and they kind of overlap or duplicated project. So I think there should be more coordinated and focus on the areas or let's say expertise area, and let's say for chatbot or user interface or digital communication with seniors, this kind of kind of mutual problem should be solved at one kind of scale.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Kurokawa.
Yes, some ideas about ignite investment from the outside, like from global to come to Japan and do the investment. So to do that, I think we can learn from the US recently that they had Inflation Reduction Act last year, and it was a huge investment into the US. So the companies who wants to do the EV or batteries in the US, if so, then they can get tax reduction. That is very simple things, but by doing so, they can gather many new companies or new technologies, new insights from the global into the country. That kind of the big things, I think I expect to Japan, as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Sakurai?
Yes, as I mentioned in my presentation, I feel that not all projects, but in many projects, I feel that using digital technology became some kind of the ultimate goal of the project. But they should be the methodology to achieve their goals in each city. So I really want to stress on we should start with understanding how people perceive digital technologies. And if I may show one more slide, I prepared. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, because I couldn't mention anything about Japanese context in my presentation, I prepared one more slide. This is the survey result I conducted last year based on the motivation to understand how people perceive digital technologies and the digital society. It was an online survey, and we had around 4,000 respondents. We made 4 clusters based on respondents' attitude towards digital technologies and society itself. Active towards digital, neutral, left behind, and digital cluster. So look at this graph. It shows age influences their attitude towards digital transformation. But not only elderlies having difficulties in adapting themselves towards digital technologies, but rather 50s, 40s, and 50s, they might have another difficulties to adapt themselves towards digital society and technologies. And also we found a certain amount of people who are interested in digital technology or society, but they don't know how to keep up the entire community. We named that category left behind.
I see.
So I think this is one of the good example how we could start with understanding people's attitude towards digital society.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sim?
Right. I fully agree with what Mr. Yamamoto said earlier. We see a lot of local communities essentially operating in silos. So there are a lot of good ideas across Japan. But the question really is whether these ideas are sustainable, whether they can be scaled up, whether it actually makes business sense for companies to expand beyond a city of, say, less than 1 million people, and roll out the idea nationwide. So I think that is really one of the biggest issues that Japan faces, and the biggest challenge facing the Digital Garden City initiative. I really would like to see Prime Minister Kishida go beyond the digital garden city and look at how to create a digital garden country. So I think this issue of scaling up is one big thing. And I also do think that a lot more attention has to be paid so that people are not left behind. In countries like Singapore, there are volunteers who fan out and give one-on-one coaching to the elderly to ensure that they can keep up with technology, that they can use smartphones. There are subsidies to enable the elderly to use smartphones as well. So I think this is something that Prime Minister Kishida maybe could take the lead at the national level. The cabinet could take the lead at the national level to ensure that the elderly people who are low income will not get left behind in this digital transformation push.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Dr. Kameda.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody, for going first. Appreciate it. I think it's not so much a criticism, but a suggestion of opportunity of improvement. So let's just take DLA. I think now we've got many communities starting their project, and I'm sensing that there's a commonality in the challenges that they're facing. So maybe there is an opportunity where Prime Minister Kishida and the government can take to learn what are the pain points, where can we help them? I'll just give you a quick example. So one of the village asked us, we don't even actually know what the demand of energy is in a village. We don't even know how to go about it now that everybody's got different power companies. Yeah? And if you don't know how much your village is consuming power every day, how do you plan to have an appropriate amount of batteries, solar, or anything, right? So there's the fundamental part of digitalization is actually having access to data. Yeah? And I think that's where the Japanese government can help a little bit more so that we can get on the first stage of digitalization, which also will help accelerate the GX.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is a related question, but the many local government leaders, including mayor and governor, they think government subsidy on the DX and GX is wonderful, but they don't last forever. They can invest in initial cost, but they don't help the local community to maintain that project. And it's Japanese government typical attitude. They give the money on the front, but then they let that make it more financially sustainable themselves. Do you think that approach would help? I mean, can be maintained for the digital transformation and green transformation?
I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Sakurai also mentioned as well, but sustainability also has to be, has to have financial sustainability, a successful business model. So it's not just about bringing digitalization or decarbonization to the area. How do you make sure that then that technology and the talent and the knowledge attracts businesses so that they can be financially independent and sustainable in the long run? So I think not just with money, but maybe expertise like Kokawa-san can go in there and make sure that it's not just about solving a now problem, but solving a long-term problem so that they can have sustainable success beyond the temporary money, infusion into the community.
Dr. Sakurai, would you like to add anything?
Oh, no, I just touched upon about sustainable business model, but I repeat it again. So we need to think about that problem with all stakeholders, but I see that we can make some local business model for smart cities, and that might be slightly different from business model for a big company, but we have localized business model, maybe. That is something that we should think about.
I saw Mr. Singh grabbing her mic.
Oh, sorry.
No, an idea just came to me, and one thing I would really like to see is, I'm not sure if it's already being done and it's just not publicized, but yes, I think the question is very pertinent. What happens when subsidies run out? Would the motivation die as well? And what I really would like to see is more communities using this Furusato Noze, diverting a portion of that towards ensuring that the communities digitalize and ensuring that good ideas, and this is something the national government should be more active in doing, I think, to help promote good ideas, to ensure that good ideas have sustainable legs and can grow beyond a local community. I think not many in the audience would know, but Japan actually had the first megawatt solar thermal power plant in 1981. Japan invented the first camera phone, but well, we know what happened after that. I think businesses turned inward-looking businesses kind of ditched the idea too soon, and we do not want this to happen with the digital age and DX going forward. Yeah.
Mr. Kurokawa, would you like to add something?
Yes. Yeah, I can echo everyone's opinion. And also, if I add, as I said, the growth and the sustainability and the inclusion is quite important. And growth meaning that making a profit. And sustainability is more about sustained changes. And also inclusion is include the people, everyone, into the community. If so, then the collaboration will happen. So as I said, inviting the global technologies or companies into Japan and collaborate each other and feeling that, we can be successful. If so, then they will start the great new business or great businesses. And after that, sustaining that, the internalize the capabilities is a key. I think learning from the others and internalize it, like technologies or how to operate, like an agile way or agile coaches. They can learn from the others. Then, if Japanese people internalize it, it is quite strong to sustain, like Toyota way or Toyota production way is like sustainability. Everything is about sustainability. So sustain the capability and relearn the new things and do the kaizen. That kind of things, Japanese is really good, but they don't know. I think the first step is needed, quite important, to do the right operating model, to do the right capability building, and to do the right strategy and business model first. Then after that, Japan can do the execution. I think. I believe that we have the DNA of the kaizen.
Yeah, but I have an impression of the Japanese corporations. They are doing a green transformation just for that, like a CSR, corporate societal responsibility. They do not necessarily worried about the sustainability. Is that correct?
You mean the Kaizen is just for the CSR or something?
Right.
I don't think so. I think the Kaizen is for the people. I think that for the employees engagement. Like if the working environment became safer or efficient, people want to work more, and the performance will become higher, and they will do the ideation more. So Kaizen is for the people, employees, for themselves. I mean, not for the just advertisement.
Would you like to say something?
No, I was going to say I completely agree. And how many of these students here in this room today are thinking, I want to work for a company who doesn't care about environment? Myself included, and my employees, my staff, they all care about the future and how we're leaving the world to our children. And we want to work for a company that believes in what we believe in. So I think a lot of these big companies do take it rather seriously.
Thank you. Mr. Yamamoto, would you like to
Yes.
add something?
Yeah, I think for a business viewpoint, without taking action for the sustainability or digital transformation, actually there is a risk of supply chain management. So let's say if you're not tackling sustainability enough, maybe Apple will wipe up from the sustainability. So there's a huge financial risk for the lack of effort for sustainability. So I think that is kind of not like just CSR things, but now it's a real business issue right now.
Dr. Sakurai mentioned about European cases, examples of that digital transformation. And is there any model which is created in Japan for the digital transformation and green transformation, which can be applied for the foreign countries or foreign cities?
Yeah, I have one example that I really like, and I also wrote a case and using that case in IUJ's course as well. It's the Panasonic's case already mentioned, which is our sustainable smart town project. The business model they are creating is great, and I think the system itself, including business model, and including how residents in that city changed their behavior using digital technologies that can be exported to other countries.
Yeah, Mr. Sim provided us the Japanese examples, and do you think that those cases can be exportable to certain countries? And if so, what kind of countries would be suitable for certain projects?
Well, that's a difficult question, but I do think that there's a lot of attention on what the Japanese government and Japanese businesses are doing. Business models like Panasonic's sustainable smart towns can definitely be exported. It's very compact, and I think governments across Asia and the world are aspiring towards a net carbon zero target sooner rather than later in future. And so this is definitely something that is exportable. I think businesses are trying to export it, and hopefully more countries would be willing to take in and see how the business models can be adapted for the local communities.
What we are now, IUJ is located in Minami Uonuma City, a very rural city, as you can saw, you could see. In all those rural areas, we have very high proportion of elderly people, which can be constrained to the digital transformation. And is there any advice for the elderly, well, that's areas with the high proportion of the aged people, elderly people? Dr. Mr. Kurokawa has...
Yeah, difficult questions. Actually, my hometown is the same situation. Like I'm from the Mie prefecture, and actually but I think each rural area have the quite big values, like food, sake, or everything. So I think we don't price these kind of the product or services right price. I mean, as I said, Nihon Sendanmaru's first penguins case, like fish is super high quality, but it is priced quite low if they sell it to the wholesaler. But if they sell it to the consumer directly, consumer or restaurants feels this quality can be valued. So it's quite important to find such kind of values in the rural areas. Then set the right price for making the profitability. If so, then we can promote more. Without it, we can get the growth in the rural areas because the population will decrease, and that's why we need to make another value, additional source of the value in the rural area. If so, then we can power them.
Would you like that,
Yeah,
Dr. Sakurai?
yeah. My question is, should be digital the first option to everyone? Like we should take digital mandatory policy? That is my question to those who are not willing to use digital technologies in their everyday lives. Yeah, that is my question.
Is it a question to me?
Not only you, but question. Yeah, I'm responding with question to your question.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for the young people and people who are digitally savvy to help replicate some of these successes. Why just one place? Why just fish? Why can't we do that with rice, sake, everything else that's been undervalued? And the people in these villages or towns don't necessarily have the skill set. You don't even have to, we can remote work now. We can work from Tokyo or your house and help all of these villages. And I think in Niigata is an absolutely fantastic place to start. I'm sure you know about Yamakoshi village, which is very close from here. They were decimated by earthquake and suffering from Asian population of about 800 now. And these people started, NFT koi fish, carp. And now you can purchase these digital fish and you can become an e-residence of Yamakoshi village. And the money is going into these villages. Could they have done this, by themselves? No, but there were people who did that. And I think that's such a brilliant idea and a new way to rejuvenate these regions and help many different problems.
Yeah, it is true. Some cities in Japan are introducing the project called digital citizenship, so that they can be an honorary citizen by digitally participating in their programs. Yeah, but my question is that if the digital transformation is introduced in rural areas, that mostly that the young people would benefit, and that the generation gap may increase or decrease. Or yeah, please.
Well, I think a digital society is only as strong as its weakest link. So there has to be a concerted effort to ensure that everybody is outwardly mobile in terms of digitalization as possible. So I mentioned Singapore's example earlier. I mean, you might think of Singapore as a very highly advanced digital technological society, but still there are elderly people who cannot keep up, who are living alone. It's like Japan, an aging society. So it's really having a vast community of volunteers, of people who actually care of their neighbors, to actually take the effort to give maybe even one-on-one coaching to let them know what this is. And I think we might be surprised that many of the elderly are more open-minded than we give them credit for.
What do you think that the rural community like this would start a digital transformation and green transformation? Do they have to depend on the governmental help or crowdfunding? Or it's very, very difficult to come up with a financially sustainable development from the beginning. What would be the best way to start the initiation?
I think that depends on the leadership from the mayor or a prefecture leader or governor. So let's say the Fukuoka, Mr. Takashima actually had a great vision for international city, and he actually put Fukuoka City's booth on the tech event, let's say CES at Las Vegas, almost I think every year. And they try to collaborate with global level tech companies. And try so the DX is just a tool for the making more sustainable community in Fukuoka. So I think that this kind of the vision is really important, or leadership from the governor or leader or mayor.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, I would like to ask Mr. Yamamoto to come to Minami Uonoma City to persuade our mayor. And, yeah, that the initiative, this for the International Symposium was promoted by the Cabinet Secretary for Public Relations, Mr. Shikata. And because Mr. Shikata has been saying that the IUJ, International University of Japan and Minami Uonoma City, should be the promoter to digitalization of the local community. What do you think is that the good initiative that the university can create? Maybe Mr. Kurokawa has knows that the example of Aizu Wakamatsu City. Could you like to explain that?
But I don't know about the detail. But yeah, especially the university, I think can play a big role in education of the ICT technologies and also designing the right architectures and also selecting the right solution. That kind of things is quite important. Without designing or architecting the holistic view, that there is a kind of the picky solution and it is not sustainable at all. So I want university to play a role for the coaching to the even the business people, including. If so, then we can do the re-education of the people, and they can do the digital transformation of GX right way. That kind of things is quite important, I think.
Dr. Kameda, you're
I'm
successful.
smiling because I have a question for you.
Okay.
How is this campus being supported in terms of energy power needs? Is it sustainable, renewable power? 100%?
We are not having a green.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that maybe that is a great project for students and for you to think about how can you make this campus decarbonization leading campus? What does it take? Think about what it takes. Where do you bring the renewables, right? How do you put solar somewhere else? Do you put batteries, you know, and then maybe let the students lead those projects. And I think there will be many of us here will be happy to advise and help.
Oh,
I think that is a fantastic way to take this university and the students to understand what does it take. It's easy to say, let's turn everything green. But what does it really take? And that real experience will be absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, actually, several years ago, we have a project plan to build a garbage burning plant, which would give us that free electricity and free hot water, but it was turned down because of local community oppositions. It was very sad for us. Now we have only 20 more minutes, and we'd like to open the questions to the floor if there any students on the floor have questions. If you have questions, raise your hand and please come to the podium to ask questions and identify who you want to ask a question. Is anybody question? You? Yeah. You come. And also, I'd like to remind the online participants, we welcome your question. Please click on please post questions link and write down on that link. Thank you. Yeah.
First of all, I need to thank UJ and Prime Minister Office to arrange this symposium for share experience. My question is, in digitalization, you're handling sensitive data of citizens. And how is the legal background for this? Because when data leakage and data stealing and sometime cyber attacks maybe occur, so we can get later come advantage from as South Asian countries. How you mitigate that kind of problems and within legal background? So thank you.
Okay. Do you have any panelists? Do you want to point out which panelists you want to ask for?
Commonly asked because
No, commonly asked. Anybody who would like to answer? Okay.
So actually, the cyber security is one of the hottest topic in Japan and in global as well. And actually, before the war happens, there is not so much cyber security related things, and CEO didn't have the interest so much. But recently, the attacks quite intensively increasing from the outside of Japan. And so that currently the many CEOs are having the risk mindset and also having the chief risk officer in company and also CIO coming together, CIO is the chief information officer, and doing the kind of the risk assessment of the company, and also large company has the multiple subsidiaries, and the subsidiaries have some security holes because of the low technology or old technologies. And so that the point is the reassess all of the networks of the companies. And from the external view, that is a point, I think. Currently we are helping the many institutions to do the assessment first, then if there is a big security hole, how do we treat it? And can they do it immediately, or is it a more longer term investment is needed, like renewing the old IT systems or something like that? So yeah, what I'm really happy is that now CEO have the interest, and also now they are treating this as a very important part of the company management. Before that, there is not so much tension, or that's why. And if you are interested in the cybersecurity, please come to McKinsey and work together.
Any other panelists who would like to respond?
Yeah, I do think that that's a very good question, and any discussion about digital transformation has always to go hand in hand with cybersecurity. And as was mentioned, I do think that more Japanese companies are being aware of the need to invest in cybersecurity, in engaging third-party external experts to really audit their systems, to see whether their systems are robust enough. At the national level, I mean, we even see local governments having fallen prey to cyber attacks. So it's not just the private sector, but the public sector also has to be more aware of cybersecurity risks and has to do more on that front. Look at the Singapore example. I mean, coming from Singapore, and even one of the world's most digitally advanced societies is not invulnerable. It has its fair share of cyber attacks. Last year, there was an instance of Singapore's second largest bank, OCBC, having lost 13.7 million Singapore dollars to phishing scams. So all these really could, well, the businesses have to have solid infrastructure in place, but the users as well. There has to be better education of users of the warning signs to watch out for. But then again, on the flip side, cybersecurity, the fear of cyber attacks, the fear of scams should not be an excuse not to embark on the digital transformation journey. I mean, we see in Japan we hear of instances of elderly being scammed by phones. So even something as analog as phones can be used to scam people who are not aware. So I think really education is the key.
Thank you. Any other panelists? Any questions? Yes, please. Please come here.
Thank you very much for such an informative discussion. I am Rafia Qayyum from Pakistan, and I am a civil servant and studying here public policy. My question is basically perhaps focused to Mochihiko-san, but anyone can answer because it is related to the policy directly. In this digital transformation, whenever we are devising a policy and we are shifting from one regime to the other, keeping in view why this is more relevant, because in Japan, aging population is one main challenge. So whenever there are aged people involved, be it Japan or be it any other country, the challenges are same. The hesitation to use the technology and to face some other challenges as well. So I want to quote an example that we faced in Pakistan when we shifted to one biometric check for identification for all the processes. The problem was that many people who are above the age of 60 got their thumb impression and finger impression missed, and the whole system was correct because we could not find their biometrics valid as they were aging more. And this was a phenomena that affected the whole system. So such many challenges come, as well as this is the problem that whenever we are focusing on the future, ageist population is still there. Like even a person who is 50 today, even after a decade, 60 and 70. So still we cannot ignore the old people as well. So somehow whenever we are shifting to the any digital transformation, any policy that we are taking the shift, this is the challenge at our hands at all the time, that it's not all about the youth or the next generation. We have to cater for the generation that is existing and that will getting old, and perhaps for them it becomes harder to change to that digital, any innovation or something. So how can you help with making it more flexible for them, or like more adaptive or something like that? Because a policymaker or implementer cannot ignore that percentage of the population as well. Not just the young generation, but we have to cater for the old generation as well. Thank you.
Can I answer? So I have one great examples in China. I think I went to China like 4 or 5 years ago, then visited Alibaba and to learn how they treat the rural area or elder people. Then their answer is very wise. Like they hire the young generations who is coming from the rural area in city and send them to their hometown to teach the IT. Then if they teach to their grandmother or grandfather or other people, like cousins or community, if so then they can start to selling the agriculture product to the Alibaba using the smartphone. This kind of strategy I really liked. Very wise. Like they can get money, and also there's an incentive for the young people. They can also promote it because of that. If they achieved some amount of the people trained in the rural area, elder people. So this kind of things are like, as I said, sampo yoshi, like a win-win-win. Like employees, companies is winning, and the employees is winning, and also society is winning. So these things is quite important to design the model first. If so, then it is operations will work. Without it, I think, you need to teach or something like that. Just it. There's no incentive. If so, then nothing happens. So we need a kind of this kind of the incentive model. If so, then it will be successful.
Thank you.
We have two questions from online participants. One is from a person in Niigata Prefecture. They said, I think we are short of people who are knowledgeable about digital and green transformation and play a leading role. What do you think is the first step to develop people who can take initiative in this transformation? What kind of thing is needed for education? Dr. Kameda,
Well,
would you like to?
Universities,
investment,
academia, and for big companies to start maybe internship, McKinsey.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
yeah?
please come.
Because those things, I had most of my education in the US, and those things were quite available to me. So, and I think I really took advantage of that growing up, and I hope that we can have more of that in Japan here as well.
I also like to point out that the IUJ offers the digital transformation program, which is on, for the master's degree. So I would like the people to participate or come to IUJ as a graduate student. Okay, another question from Mexico. As I understand, Dr. Mihoko Sakurai explained that the first step to implement GX or DX is recognizing how people live their daily life, their needs and expectations. My question is to any speaker is, could you give some GX, DX example in projects done in communities that live in extreme levels of poverty.
Oh,
Do you have any? Do you have? Yeah.
That's a difficult question. You mean in countries like developing countries and so on?
So question I think is that digital and green transformation without the infrastructure.
Okay,
Yeah.
the country without any infrastructure.
Any infrastructure, yeah.
Yeah, the one of the things for digital technology implementation is we need some kind of infrastructure. So, yeah, it's a really tough question to answer whether they can do something without any critical infrastructure. But I also teach here at IUJ, and yesterday I had a course of management of digital transformation. I started this course last year, and this year it's second year. I always was surprised by stories from students. So I was surprised by story like other countries, how they implemented digital technology in their everyday lives. That is much more advanced rather than what we have in Japan. So I think infrastructure matters, but they have much more knowledge on how to use, how to implement, and how to integrate social system and technological system together.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I may
Would you like
add,
that?
yeah. So I do not personally have any encounters with extremely poor communities, and so I can't give any specific examples to that point. But I thought I should take this chance to respond to this question by pointing out a rather little known initiative by the Japanese Cabinet Office. It's or rather by the Ministry of the Environment. It's trying to promote this idea called transition finance, in which it's helping developing countries, developing communities achieve the eventual goal of reaching a net zero carbon society. But then again, there's this recognition that these are still very heavily polluting societies, heavily carbon emitting societies. So the expectation is just as you do not expect a baby to learn how to walk immediately, to progressively move towards the net zero carbon goal by first rolling out more energy efficient technologies that would gradually reduce the carbon emissions. And so I think this GX, DX journey, especially for extremely poor communities without the necessary infrastructure in place, we really cannot expect them to go from 0 to 100 overnight. It's really a process. And of course, if there are countries like Japan, with its immense soft power, being willing to step up to help these countries in the region, I think Japan is poised to play a very good role.
I have it's not necessarily GX or DX, but when I was in high school, we visited a small village in Indonesia, and they had a water purification plant that was donated by a European country, and very benevolent, right? But nobody could maintain it, so what it did was just rotted there, and people could only use river water. So as students, we went in there and asked the villagers, what do you have? What do you need? And trying to create a sustainable, low budget, low scale water purification system that they could use, build, and maintain themselves. And I thought, that was when I was 16 years old. And I see the parallel here today is any solution that we provide, be it GX or DX, we really need to understand the process and the journey, and it needs to be sustainable in that they can maintain it themselves, use it themselves, and understand it. So I think you both are so right that in these rural areas where they are poverty-stricken, there are right scales of opportunity, and the funding has to be applied in a way that they can then learn and use and grow at a right pace.
Thank you very much. I think this is the time we need to close the symposium. I'd like to invite Mr. Hideo Fuseda, a counselor at the Council for the Realization of Vision for a Digital Guardian City Nation. And Mr. Fuseda, please.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much, dear panelists, especially moderators, our participants. I was so inspired from your discussion speeches. I really would like to continue to listen and join this event, but however, time constraint we have, so I will do closing some remarks. I'm Councillor Hideo Fuseda, Secretariat for the Council for the Realization of the Vision for the Digital Guardian City Nation, Cabinet Secretariat. Let me make some closing remarks for this symposium. Firstly, I would like to convey my deep respect to the International University of Japan for its effort to develop diverse global human resources as Japan's first graduate university to conduct all classes in Japan English, while also proactively contributing to the revitalization of the region, including Minami Ueyama City, where the university is located. Japanese government began to start its regional revitalization measures in 2014 and has since been fostering a broad range of measures and implementing creative initiatives across the country. There are, however, outlying regions in the country that are dealing with issues such as depopulation, the aging of local community, falling birth rate, and the so-called hollowing out of local industries. Moreover, due to COVID-19, people's movement and face-to-face activity have been restricted, which has had a serious impact on our society and the economy. However, the pandemic has also accelerated the use of digital technologies, particularly in outlying regions. There are needs for digital technologies that can be used effectively to promote remote medical services and outlying education, as well as teleworking and the use of satellite offices for new working arrangements. The Kishida Cabinet upholds the vision for the Digital Guardian City Nation, aiming to make effective use of digital technologies to solve social issues faced by regions and to increase their local appeal based on their unique regional features, toward creating a society in which everyone can live conveniently and comfortably anywhere in Japan. At the end of the last year, the Cabinet decided on the new comprehensive strategy, which set out specific targets and the schedule for achieving them for the 5-year period from fiscal year 2023 to 2027. Last summer, in order to increase the momentum for regional revitalization based on the use of digital technologies, we held up competition called Digiden Koshien, for which we called entries from across Japan and gave recommendations for outstanding measures taken for realization of the vision of Digital Guardian City Nation. At present, we are working for an organization of Winter Digiden Koshien, for which we have received numerous entries from companies in the private sector and other organizations. Following the preliminary screening by experts, we will start accepting online vote for the competition by the end of January, and we hope that many of you will take part in the voting. For regional revitalization based on regional features, it's important for the related parties to share good examples and new ideas. At today's symposium, panelists expressed various opinions and made recommendations concerning DX and GX related measures implemented in Japan and abroad, and so on. DX and GX are shared global challenges. We would like to increase the number of domestic initiatives that reflect the diverse regional characteristic of Japan and that can be used as a reference for various overseas issues and disseminate them domestically and internationally, thereby promoting international cooperation and enhancing the attractiveness of the region as a destination on investment. In doing so, I have great expectations that educational and research institutes such as IUJ will play a key role in industry, academia, government collaboration, including collaboration with overseas universities and fostering and supporting foreign students and startups. Finally, before concluding my speech, let me once again express my respect for the International University of Japan for the organization of this symposium and wish all of you participants and the best of health and future success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fuseda. I'd like to request the online participant. There will be a link underneath the screen, a link for the questionnaire for this symposium, and we would appreciate your feedbacks. And I'd like to close this symposium, and I'd like to ask you on the floor to give applause for the fine present. Thank you very much for participation.